Welcome. We're on the red couch with Valerie Goddard, Executive Director of the Women's Resource Center of Sarasota County. Valerie has over 25 years of experience, including Executive Director of a United Way agency and Deputy Director of Child Development for the Department of Defense. Valerie was appointed by 3 governors to serve as a gubernatorial appointee to the Special Taxing District. Now at the Women's Resource Center, Valerie is passionate about helping women and becoming a more vocal advocate for women's issues. Valerie, I am so thrilled to have you on the red couch.
Well, I'm just delighted to be here. What a treat it will be to spend this time with you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to start out just talking about how you grew up. You grew up in a military family, which is unusual.
It did. I grew up in a military family and had the pleasure of traveling all over the world. I actually went to high school in Germany. And I would say of all the different places that I've lived, that was the place that was the most impactful, and I think that has helped to shape the person that I am. Wow. Being a part of a military family means you learn to adapt and adjust to change. But in that experience, we had the opportunity to live downtown. So though it was in a military compound, we actually were amongst, the natives, amongst the family, shopping in the villages and going to the local restaurants and things like that. So I got a chance to experience the culture in a very different way than had we actually lived on a military installation.
Yeah.
So it was different, but it was really, really a lot of fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So one of your super skills, which just because I know you a little bit, is your ability to really connect with people. And do you think that being part of a military family had an impact on that, like having to move around so much?
Most definitely. I would say I have developed a great appreciation for the richness of diversity because of the experience of having moved around and having lived in so many different places. So my friends growing up were from all different cultures, and even now, the people that I interact with and that are a part of my life professionally and personally are from all different backgrounds and different cultures. In fact, we even joke in my family that we are like the little UN because there are so many different, cultures even in my immediate family, because as we have traveled, so have our friends and families. It's kind of a big mixture. Mm-hmm. And I think it's good because if we look at the world and in its global nature, the reality is we're all much more alike than we are different.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mm-hmm. Now, you had some very special, important early influences in your life. Can you tell me about some of them? I know one was your grandmother, the love of your life.
Yes, the love of my life, and most influential in shaping the person that I am. She was a woman of great character, great strength, but even more impactful was her level of compassion. And because of her choices and her desire to serve others, her life was a life of service. And I believe her living that life has influenced me and the professional path that I've taken. So she served for 55 years, serving the community, running an agency that served children and families. And so I saw her not only have a profession, but have a life of passion. And that has influenced me greatly.
Did you grow up with her? Did you live with her?
You would think I did. But whenever we moved from place to place or came back from overseas, we always came through Tampa. And that's where home was. Okay. So there was always a place for me to reconnect. Mm-hmm. Before there was ever a major change or a transition to a new location, we always came through Tampa. And that was a time of reconnection. And she was always that force, a voice of wisdom, but also a place, regardless of my age or stage in life, where I could go sit and be myself. And she was a constant and very, very supportive of me.
That's nice.
Yeah, so she was probably most instrumental, but there have been strong women throughout my life. My mother as well, and aunts who all did a lot of firsts. I had an aunt who was the first nautical cartographer for the Navy, and as an African American woman back in the 40s and 50s, that was unheard of, but she was a mathematical genius of sorts. And so go figure that a woman was drawing maps for the submarines many, many years ago. So when I look back, I would say that women have been very influential in my life.
And you had a special teacher, I remember.
Dr. Thelma Eaton. And she was a professor of mine in college. And she was unique in that she insisted in every class that she taught that there was an experiential component.
So not just like didactic, not just like being taught something, you actually got to do something out in the field.
Absolutely experiential. And it was because the college that I attended was diverse, and there were students who came from experiences that may not have been very broad. So she took it upon herself to make sure that whether you came to college in a Mercedes or a Nissan, you are going to have a broad exposure to life. And so every class was experiential in nature. And so it was through her influence that I understood, yes, we can be good practitioners, absolutely astute and knowledgeable about your field, but you really begin to make a difference when you begin to influence policy. And so I got both ends, to become an astute practitioner, but also to understand the effect that policy had on the daily lives of people.
Wow.
And so that's definitely shaped who I am, and realizing that not only do we have to do, but we have to be a strong advocate. And I'm passionate about advocacy as well.
Yeah. Wow. A lot of interesting women that brought you to where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And single-handedly imparted, I like to say they imparted something into me that has helped to shape my journey and my character and the person that I've become, I'd say.
There was another group of women that I was really intrigued by on a trip you took, kind of in an effort to connect more with yourself, to South Africa.
Yes, that trip was life-changing for me. And I was a part of a team that went and spent 2 weeks training teachers in South Africa. But of all the wonderful experiences that I had, this one was most notable. And that on our journey, we happened to go through Soweto, which is really one of the poorer parts of South Africa from a European perspective.
Right.
Because what I did walk away with was that some of them lived in shanties. They lived in homes that were made out of cardboard or tin. When you think that a wall is a cardboard box and dirt is your floor, for us Americans, that's pretty meager. But women full of life, full of joy, and very resilient is what I encountered. And it helped me to appreciate even the more that you may have very little in material means, but you can surely be rich in spirit. And that richness of spirit can propel you in directions unknown. And they came together. Challenging situation, single women, raising children, and they came to the awareness, well, somebody has to work. So they, were ingenious in how they came together. And several of the women decided that they were going to take care of the children, and the other women were going to go to work.
So they kind of divided all the responsibilities amongst their
own little group.
Right.
And it worked. And if you really think about it, it was incredible, because they actually established what we know in the United States to be a family daycare home.
Yeah.
And so they were, eager to learn new strategies, ways to work with the children, ways to keep them engaged, and to teach them in these small little homes that were full of love, though not full of much material things. You saw great things springing forth from the midst of that co-op. Women coming together to work it out. I like to say they were working it out, and it was working well.
So how did that change you?
It changed me because it helped me to see firsthand the resilience of women. Firsthand, regardless of life circumstances or situations, we are resilient. But it also impressed upon me the ability to continue to make a difference. And one of the things I'm passionate about and would love to do would be to spend a month a year in South Africa, to go back and to just be a part of that community and not only share, but to learn, to glean from those women the strategies, and to benefit from their resilience, and to really just see how they are continuing to grow and to prosper. I can only think of good things that can come out of that. And as much as we in the Western society think we have it going on, there's a lot to be learned from women who live in other countries who are doing so much with so very little.
Yeah. Do you think that life-changing experience helped you, say, even for taking on this new role as executive director of the Women's Resource Center? Did that contribute to inspiring you?
I think if I look back at the path from then till now, I would say that this is all culminated into the experience now being the executive director of the Women's Resource Center, because I was an entrepreneur, consultant, working on my own. So, you have to have a different kind of strength and focus when you're doing that. And I think the culmination of that experience, some of the consulting roles that I've had, have just kind of moved me to the place now where I realize the added value that when we deposit into a woman, when we invest in a woman, we invest in a community. Because our reach is so broad. We touch in so many different ways. We touch in our homes, we touch in our churches, synagogues, religious institutions. We touch it in our communities in ways that sometimes we don't even acknowledge ourselves. And so now I have the opportunity to really look at this community and add value and look at how we can continue to expand our partnerships, expand outreach in a way that we're affecting all women.
Okay, I'm still back in South Africa because
Okay.
the whole idea of
Yeah,
that and women coming together with so little is so incredibly inspiring, and the women here in Sarasota to invest in them with whatever they have to maximize their potential.
Absolutely. Maximizing their potential is key. I believe every person has unique gifts and talents. And what I witnessed even in South Africa, even with the little material goods, there was a spirit, there was a divine nature, there was a uniqueness, there was a sparkle in their eyes. There was something there that when tapped into began to emerge. And when we tap into that place, we see purpose unfold. And when we begin to see purpose unfold, a path develops. And then we begin to see and walk on that path, then fulfillment manifests.
Okay, so I want to talk about purpose.
Yes.
And I know that you're a strong believer in having a meaningful life and finding your passion and your purpose. So let's say though I'm someone that doesn't know my purpose, and I'm kind of floundering a little bit and I don't really know how to find it. How can I start to uncover and discover what it is?
One of the things in a very simple way that I try to tell people when they're kind of searching is, what do you enjoy? What do you enjoy? Focus on what you enjoy doing. What are the things that you also do that come easily to you? And when you tend to focus on those things, more often than not, you'll begin to get some insight into what you're good at really doing.
So should I write them down? How should I uncover them?
I would suggest keep a journal or a notepad or a notebook. Make a note of it. And if you continue to make notes when those things occur, more often than not, you'll see a pattern develop. And that pattern has a way of illuminating your mind into some things that you may want to discover fully. Even with the women in South Africa or some other women that I've had the pleasure of working with, oftentimes, even if they happen to be in a low-income environment, more often than not, if you talk to them for any amount of time and regard asking them, what do you like to do? When you have time to yourself, or when you're just kicking it with your girls, what is it that you really enjoy doing? And sometimes they'll take a moment and they'll say, well, I love to bake, or I love to do hair, or my friends always come and ask me to draft letters for them. And I'll say, well, did you ever think that there may be something there? I never thought about it. That area of baking pound cakes, you're the go-to person for Thanksgiving. There's something there. And if you hone in, you may recognize that you have, a gift for baking or a gift for culinary arts or something that you never really paid attention to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So let's say you have a job. And it's not in any of the things you're interested in. It's just a job to get you through, to pay the bills, to make enough money to survive. And you realize that you're not doing any of those things. You're not doing the things you're good at, and you're not doing the things that you like. So should you just quit your job and try to find a place to bake pound cakes?
Absolutely not. No. You're in probably the best position yet to re-engineer your life. because while you're on this path and journey of discovery, you do have an income. So now seize the opportunity. That's a good thing. Now it's a time to explore. While you're working, knowing that this is just a season, you're in the between times, between where you want to be and where you are now. So now this is the time for you to begin that time of self-discovery. Start journaling. You know, if you're a meditator, you know, get quiet and just listen to the still small voice inside. If you're interested in classes, you know, if you like to design, you know, put together floral arrangements, then go to a technical institute, a vocational school, or a continuing education class. Yeah. Take a floral designing class for the heck of it, for fun. And you never know, fun may become infectious.
Right.
And then, you know, you can begin now to pursue your passion or probe a little further. But I don't encourage people to just quit their jobs because it's really, really stressful to start a new endeavor when you're trying to figure out how to pay the bills.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there are success stories of people who just stepped out on faith.
You were one of them, weren't you?
I did it.
Don't do what I say.
I did it, and it worked out. But you know, I'm a person of strong faith, and sometimes I believe we get comfortable on the seashore. We get comfortable walking on the sandy beach and gazing out into the ocean, wondering what if. And sometimes we're pushed from our comfort zone and we have to be willing to go out into the deep. And so sometimes that means we do take some risk, but I'd like to think they're calculated risks.
Yeah. Although I have to say, you are a person that I have noted that has an enormous amount of courage. I mean, how do you get that courage? How do you, I mean, like if you're a person that doesn't feel confident or, you know, doesn't feel like they have that quality, how do you fake it till you make it type of thing, or till you become it?
Well, I think there is some value in that. Act as if you already are there. I think there is some value in that. But I also think, you know, you don't just wake up one day, most normal people, and just jump out of a plane.
Yeah. Jump out of a plane.
Maybe, you know.
That's not something I usually think about.
No, me either. So, you know, you may want to start rock climbing first. You know, do something. My point is that it's a journey, and that courage begins by taking little steps. And so we take little steps and we encourage ourselves to try something new. The key is to try something new. You're on your way now to becoming the courageous person that you want to be. But you have to start somewhere. It may be, you know, something as simple as, if you're afraid to be by yourself, go to a movie by yourself. That's a great place to start because there are people in the movie theater with you, but it's okay to do things by yourself. That's a first step. So little things become big. When we do little things on a recurring basis, it builds.
So speaking of being together in a group, I mean, one of the things about the Women's Resource Center that's so amazing is women coming together.
Yes.
So can you speak a little bit about the strength of women? Because I know you believe all women have a lot of strength, but what happens when women come together to really support each other?
Wow. When women come together, I like to say it's powerful. The energy, the synergy, when women come together and they can come into alignment and agreement around a common issue, we can move mountains. And I've witnessed that personally, and certainly I see it happening every day at the Women's Resource Center. As women come in with various issues or challenges, what happens is they're embraced. They're accepted for who they are, with whatever their baggage is. We take them, baggage and all. And the goal is to say it's okay. Now we're going to support you. I like to call it supportive intervention. We're going to support you as you endeavor on this journey to unpack those bags. Once you unpack them, then you can determine what's of value to you and what's going to help you carry you to your next destination. Because everything we walk in with is not meant for us to carry to the next place.
Good. That's good news.
Great news. We have an opportunity every day to make choices that will help propel us into our future.
So what are some examples of some of the women that have come to you, say recently, at the Women's Resource Center?
We had one woman, there's a couple that just left a lasting mark on me, and one was an older woman, she was in her 50s, who was living in her car with her dog. And so often we think of homeless individuals as someone sleeping under a bridge. But this was an educated woman, a woman who was an accountant by trade, bookkeeper. And her story was very compelling because life happened. She ended up in a difficult situation, and she came to us. We were able to support her and assist her, and she was able to find a part-time job as a bookkeeper here. Granted, the transition time from where she was to starting was a little tough, and one of the challenges for us was to try to assist her in finding some sort of transitional housing until she could actually start work and now get on her feet. But that's an example of someone that you don't hear about necessarily being in a different stage of homelessness. She wasn't under a bridge, but she was sleeping in her car.
Right.
So that lets you know that life happens, and at any given moment, people can find themselves in a situation that they never thought that they'd be in. The good news is she is on her way up and out, and that's because of the assistance that she received there. And the other one was a woman who came in recently, and she was in a difficult relationship and came here to get away from that, had small children with special needs, has, some college as a background, but just found herself really overwhelmed and not knowing which way to turn. And yesterday, she came in a week ago, but yesterday she was able to participate in our Ask a Lawyer session. Well, we have attorneys that donate their time to come in, and they get an opportunity to spend 20 minutes to get some sort of direction about, what should I know, what questions should I ask, how do I secure legal services, because sometimes the fear of the unknown is a fear that's very overwhelming.
Sure.
So we help to dispel some of that by having those resources made available to women.
So do you think that part of the problem for women is that we undervalue ourselves and kind of don't let our light shine, so to speak?
Absolutely. I would say more often than not, because we're caregivers, we place the emphasis on caring for everyone else, and we put ourselves last. And when we begin to come into the awakening of our true value, the light bulb goes on. We see ourselves differently, and the world sees us differently too. And when that happens, it's on. Because it's like center stage now, and you realize all the possibilities that are before you. But that's a process. It's an unfolding, an awakening that takes place once we tap into who we really are.
So from all of your vast experiences and travels and incredible positions that you've had, when you look kind of back over your life, if you had just one juicy secret that you could share to living a happy and successful life, what would that be?
You can't truly walk into your divine destiny or begin to walk into your divine destiny until you believe that you are divine.
Wow. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. It was a pleasure to have this time with you today.
Thank you for joining us
On the Red Couch.